Welcome to Bite at a Time Books, where we read you your favorite classics one bite at a time. My name is Bree Carlile, and I love to read and wanted to share my passion with listeners like you. You can sign up for our newsletter at biteatatimebooks.com. You'll also find our new t-shirts in the shop, including podcast shirts and quote shirts from your favorite classic novels. Be sure to follow my show on your favorite podcast platform so you get all the new episodes. We're part of the Bite at a Time Books Productions Network. If you'd also like to hear what inspired your favorite classic author to write their novels, and what was going on in the world at the time, check out the Bite at a Time Books Behind the Story podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. Today we'll be continuing Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. Chapter 4. The Barrel of Powder. Marius, still concealed in the turn of the Rue Mondétour, had witnessed, shuddering and irresolute, the first phase of the combat. But he had not long been able to resist that mysterious and sovereign vertigo, which may be designated as the call of the abyss. In the presence of the imminence of the peril, in the presence of the death of Monsieur Mabeuf, that melancholy enigma, in the presence of Bahorel killed, and Courfeyrac shouting, "Follow me," of that child threatened, of his friends to succor or to avenge, all hesitation had vanished, and he had flung himself into the conflict, his 2 pistols in hand. With his first shot, he had saved Gavroche, and with the second, delivered Courfeyrac. Amid the sound of the shots, amid the cries of the assaulted guards, the assailants had climbed the entrenchment, on whose summit municipal guards, soldiers of the line, and National Guards from the suburbs could now be seen, gun in hand, rearing themselves to more than half the height of their bodies. They already covered more than 2/3 of the barrier, but they did not leap into the enclosure as though wavering in the fear of some trap. They gazed into the dark barricade as one would gaze into a lion's den. The light of the torch illuminated only their bayonets, their bearskin caps, and the upper part of their uneasy and angry faces. Marius had no longer any weapons. He had flung away his discharged pistols after firing them, but he had caught sight of the barrel of powder in the taproom near the door. As he turned half round, gazing in that direction, a soldier took aim at him. At the moment when the soldier was sighting Marius, a hand was laid on the muzzle of the gun and obstructed it. This was done by someone who had darted forward, the young workman in velvet trousers. The shot sped, traversed the hand, and possibly also the workman, since he fell. But the ball did not strike Marius. All this, which was rather to be apprehended than seen through the smoke, Marius, who was entering the taproom, hardly noticed. Still, he had in a confused way perceived that gun barrel aimed at him, and the hand which had blocked it, and he had heard the discharge. But in moments like this, the things which one sees vacillate and are precipitated, and one pauses for nothing. One feels obscurely impelled towards more darkness still, and all is cloud. The insurgents, surprised but not terrified, had rallied. Enjolras had shouted, "Wait, don't fire at random." In the first confusion, they might, in fact, wound each other. The majority of them had ascended to the window on the first story, and to the attic windows whence they commanded the assailants. The most determined, with Enjolras, Courfeyrac, Jean Prouvaire, and Combeferre, had proudly placed themselves with their backs against the houses at the rear, unsheltered and facing the ranks of soldiers and guards who crowned the barricade. All this was accomplished without haste, with that strange and threatening gravity which precedes engagements. They took aim point blank on both sides. They were so close that they could talk together without raising their voices. When they had reached this point where the spark is on the brink of darting forth, an officer in a gorget extended his sword and said, "Lay down your arms." "Fire," replied Enjolras. The 2 discharges took place at the same moment, and all disappeared in smoke. An acrid and stifling smoke in which dying and wounded lay with weak, dull groans. When the smoke cleared away, the combatants on both sides could be seen to be thinned out, but still in the same positions, reloading in silence. All at once, a thundering voice was heard shouting, "Be off with you, or I'll blow up the barricade." All turned in the direction whence the voice proceeded. Marius had entered the taproom and had seized the barrel of powder. Then he had taken advantage of the smoke and the sort of obscure mist which filled the entrenched enclosure. to glide along the barricade as far as that cage of paving stones where the torch was fixed, to tear it from the torch, to replace it by the barrel of powder, to thrust the pile of stones under the barrel, which was instantly staved in, with a sort of horrible obedience. All this had cost Marius but the time necessary to stoop and rise again. And now all, National Guards, municipal guards, officers, soldiers, huddled at the other extremity of the barricade, gazed stupidly at him as he stood with his foot on the stones, his torch in his hand, his haughty face illuminated by a fatal resolution, drooping the flame of the torch towards that redoubtable pile where they could make out the broken barrel of powder and give vent to that startling cry, "Be off with you, or I'll blow up the barricade." Marius, on that barricade after the octogenarian, was the vision of the young revolution after the apparition of old. "Blow up the barricade," said a sergeant, "and yourself with it." Marius retorted, "And myself also." And he dropped the torch towards the barrel of powder. But there was no longer anyone on the barrier. The assailants, abandoning their dead and wounded, flowed back pell-mell and in disorder towards the extremity of the street, and they were again lost in the night. It was a headlong flight. The barricade was free. Thank you for joining Bite at a Time Books today, while we read a bite of one of your favorite classics. Again, my name is Bree Carlile, and I hope you come back tomorrow for the next bite of Les Miserables. Don't forget, you can sign up for our newsletter at biteatatimebooks.com. And while you're there, check out our t-shirt shop. You can look in the show notes or on our website, biteatatimebooks.com, for the rest of the links for our show. We'd love to hear from you on social media. You can find us everywhere at Bite at a Time Books.